Brilliant. Well, let's get started then. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for this webinar on Naibor Camps. I'm joined by Lisa Sykes, who is a co-owner of Naibor, and who'll be presenting the property to you today. Bit of housekeeping. This is recorded. We'll be putting it on our YouTube in the next couple of days. It will also go onto the Africa Hub, the accommodation hub for Naibor. And we will send out a follow-up in the next couple of days with the recording and hopefully everything you need to be selling Naibor Camps. We will be doing a Q&A at the end of the webinar, so do pop any questions you have in the Q&A box, which should appear at the top or bottom of your screen, and then we'll get to those at the end. But for now, I will pass over to Lisa, who will present to you Naibor.
Hi, everybody. Hope you're having a good day. My name's Lisa Sykes. I'm one of the co-owners of Naibor. I've been an owner now for almost 5 years, which has been pretty exciting. I'm based in Nairobi and heavily involved in the day-to-day running of the camp. But despite me living in Nairobi, I'm out at camp most of the time. Okay, what can I tell you about Naibor? So obviously, I know there's so much supply on the market, and what makes us stand out. So what I will say is this: location. We are in the reserve, and we are in the heart of the reserve. We are literally, close to so many of the crossing points, right in the heart of the reserve. We have 3 different types of accommodation. We've got family suites. We've got our normal, our main accommodation, which are twins and doubles, and then we also have our little wilderness camp, which I'll get into in detail. What I would want you to take away from what our USP is, we are a traditional East African tented camp. I know there are some camps that say they're tented and they tend to have glass doors or windows. We are proper tent. When you get into that tent, you're unzipping. But we have all the luxury amenities that you'd expect to have in anywhere else, just that we're in a tent, which I think is the experience that people want to have when they're coming on safari. We're also really, really affordable, but I'll get into that further on in the presentation. So let's talk about location. What's really important for me to point out to you, I'm in the Mara sort of pretty much 3 to 4 times a month. And I talk to many agents, and I know a lot of the agents, they say, oh, well, I don't really want to go in the reserve. The reserve is so busy. But now with the increased park fees, we're really, really finding that there's been a huge decrease in the number of cars in the reserve. And the conservancies, yes, they're great and they're wonderful. And yes, they have less camps in them. But for the migration does not reach the conservancies. It's right in the heart of the reserve. And we are right there, right in the center, right on the Talig River, right near the nearest crossing points. One of the positives about being in the reserve is that 80% of our staff has to be Maasai from the local area. It's not just any Maasai. Our guides know exactly who is who, where to go, where to stay away from the mass of the crowds, and where to go to crossings that the other guides in the camp outside of the reserve, don't really know where to go. So we're really, really adept at keeping everyone away from the crowds when they're viewing animals, and it's really quite amazing, our location. So we're based along a bend in the Talig River. Our camp consists of 2 family suites, which are called Little Naibor. And then we've got 7 of our main tents, which are all along the river. The mess is central in the corner we're sort of in the bend of the river, where we have all of our dining and our mess and our office, and that just faces out on a hippo pool. Off to the right, sort of all the way, it's about a 5-minute walk away from the main camp. We have our little wilderness camp, which is kind of a separate exclusive use camp. However, it can be taken on an individual basis. I'll get into more on that. So as I said, we've tried to just keep traditional East African tented safari. So all of the decor in our tent is just trying to bring in the colors, like the red soil we have in the Mara. So we've got the rust colors and just the natural wood. If we were to pick up, Naibor's been there 18 years. If we were to pick up the camp and go, within 6 months, you'd never even know we're there, because we try to really blend in with the environment. We have a very, very low impact, no concrete, sort of, we've got decking, a little bit of decking around the main mess, but everything else is sort of really, really blends in with the environment. So we've got deck that surrounds our tented mess that looks out onto the river, and it's a perfect spot to sit and have an aperol and watch the hippos, because they're literally there active and playing all day, and guests just love sitting there watching the hippos. Some views of the tent at night, and you see the deck all along the river. We are completely off grid, so completely solar. So at night, the tent is completely lit just with lanterns. There's power and we've got Starlink, so great Wi-Fi, and there's power in all the rooms and charging points in the main area, so you can charge your phones, your tablets. It doesn't support sort of hair dryers and things like that. However, we do now have hair dryers on request that we can bring in that are really, really low energy, and we give you an extra battery pack if you need to have a hair dryer. So this is our deck. In the morning, on your last morning, if you're usually catching like an 11 a.m. flight, we have breakfast on the deck. Alternatively, sometimes in the evenings, if you're not going out on a game drive or you're coming back early, we can do lovely sundowner setup on the deck. This was taken with my iPhone in April, almost a year ago, and you can just see you don't even need to leave camp to have some beautiful, beautiful sundowners from camp. Dining. So dinner, so dining is not communal. I know that's a big table in that picture, but dining is not communal. That happens to be a big table for big groups. For breakfast is usually out in the bush, picnic breakfast or full cooked sort of bush breakfast. Lunch is buffet style down by the river, and dinner is plated, three-course plated in the tent, all by candlelight. That's one of our lunch tables down by the river. All of our food is really, really fresh, really, really good. We're quite well known for our food. One of our co-owners, there's three of us, owns one of the most famous restaurants in Nairobi, the Talisman. So we have their chefs regularly coming out and just making sure that our chefs are keeping up to scratch. We can cater to any dietary requirement. We just had a few different kosher guests in, which we completely catered for, which was kind of an exciting skill to learn, because we had to buy all new pots and pans and really, really work with the agent to make sure that we met the client's expectations. But we can do, gluten-free, vegan, kosher now, any kind of thing that you can throw at us, we can do in the camp. We have our fireplace down by the river that every night before dinner, people usually come down and have a drink by the fire. And Liliana Marcius comes and gives everyone a 10-minute neck and shoulder massage on their first night, which everyone loves, sitting there after a long day with a gin and tonic in hand, having a little neck and shoulder massage. Okay, accommodation. So as I kind of briefly talked about before, we've got three different types of accommodation. So I'm going to skip to the middle to our main. So main, we have 7 tents in our main camp, 5 doubles and 2 twins, which all along the river. They are sort of that old khaki style tents, beautifully redone just now, with lots of special touches. We've got down duvets and pillows and Egyptian cotton bedding, beautiful kilim rugs in all of our rooms as well. Our other style of accommodation is our family suites, which are 2 bedrooms, 1 double and 1 twin, although the twin can be combined to make 2 doubles if need be. That are the family suites, and which are great for families or multi-generational families, or 2 couples traveling together. It doesn't always have to be a family. And then we've got our little wilderness camp, which is 3 tents that can be doubles or twins, and that's all along the river. As I said before, we just tried to keep everything really, really in with the environment. So I wanted to bring a lot of greens in to bring in the green of the trees, the reds for the Maasai, just keeping everything natural and modern, but with that old traditional tented safari. So you kind of can picture yourself in out of Africa with that style, but with all the modern amenities required. As previously before my husband and I became partners, it was male owned, a camp only. And so there's a lot of touches that I brought in, just having 2 wardrobes. So each person can have their own wardrobe as opposed to just having to share one. Lots of new features in the bathrooms, desks in the rooms with mirrors and better lighting. Also the hair dryers, because I know I don't need a hair dryer on safari, but a lot of guests think they were going to need one until they get there and then they end up not using it. But we do have that on offer now, which is really, really great. I personally come and stay in every single tent in camp at least once a quarter to ensure that the highest standards are being met. And I think they hate when I come because I'm always coming saying something like, oh, we need to add a plug here, or let's add this here, or that's not right. But that's what I do personally to make sure that we're keeping the highest standards and that guests will be comfortable and there's nothing that they could need when they're staying with us. This is one of our twin rooms. It's exactly the same as our double rooms, just that they're twin beds. Now, what I will say about our beds and the doubles, they're actually 7-foot wide beds. They're pretty much what I think in America they call an emperor. And then our twins are 4-foot wide beds, but we can put them together to make an 8-foot wide bed. I've just had special converters made to convert the twins into a really, really big double bed if it's required. And I made sure it's very comfortable and you don't feel the divide in the middle. some more views of our rooms. They're all decorated the same in the main area. So our bathrooms have got running water, flushing toilets. We do have bucket safari showers. They are 12 minutes without toggling them on and off. So they will run consistently for 12 minutes. They're 40 liters, which is the biggest in the industry. And so if you don't turn it on and off in between sort of soaping up, you'll get 12 minutes of water, which is plenty. You know, my husband and I share that. We've never ever had a guest arrive and complain about the showers. They're all pleasantly surprised by how normal the showers feel. This is just a view of the camp at night. So this is Little Naibor, which is our family offering. So as I said, it's two tents either side of a sitting area. This is a king size bed on one side and then a twin bed on the other side. Sorry, I'm just trying to see if I can get the twin bed picture. There we go. Twin bed on the other side, which is perfect for families with children. Each of the tents has their own bathroom, so there's no you're not having to share or anything like that. So it's perfect for two couples traveling together, some girlfriends traveling together, or multi-generational families with older adult children. It works perfectly well for that as well. And we have a lot of people utilizing the space for that. What we're having new for this high season is we're enclosing this sitting area. At the moment, it's open. And we've had some feedback that, very nervous parents don't like the fact that maybe they're afraid the children might, if they come out in the middle of the night or something, they're in the open as opposed to being in an enclosed area. So we are enclosing this sitting area in between the two for the high season. One of the perks of when you book Little Naibor is you get guaranteed exclusive use vehicle, which we always try and make sure as often as we can that everyone has their exclusive use vehicle. We try not to have you sharing if we can, and it's very rare that it happens that you'd have to share because our vehicles only sit 6 people. But if you book Little Naibor, even if you're only 2 people, you would get exclusive use vehicle. We also you have a complete butler service when you book Little Naibor, so you can do all your dining in your tent if you want. So some parents will feed the children in the tent and then put them to bed early, and then they will go to the main dining area whilst we have a babysitter that can come and sit with the children. If they're not comfortable with that, the parents can then put the children to bed and then dine and have a lovely romantic or just nice quiet meal on the veranda, which is overlooking the river. Also, every tent has its own fire pit. So again, if parents were too nervous to leave the children, but they still wanted to sit by the fire with a lovely drink in their hand after dinner, completely possible in all of our tents. But that is a selling point for Little Naibor, and the fact that you can still get the same experience just staying in your tent if you're nervous about leaving your children. We have a spa on site, which is wonderful. As I said, Lillian comes down and gives you a 10-minute neck and shoulder massage, which everyone seems to like, and that is on site and available. We also have a new gym that we just put in October, which is proving to be very popular. I know a lot of people on honeymoon, if they're going to the beach next, they want to keep up their fitness, or just anyone who's maybe been on safari for a long time and just wants to stretch their legs. We have all the equipment you can require, lots of things you can't see behind that shot, lots of mats and just sort of bands and light weights and yoga mats and all sorts of things, anything for any level, but also very heavy weights if people did want to do something heavier. So Wilderness was designed as our entry-level price point. So it is 3 tents that can be doubles or twins. It's just a 5-minute walk away from the main camp, but it is pretty much its own exclusive camp. And it was designed to be entry-level price point, so it is a little bit cheaper than main and little. But in the end, when I arrived, it needed a complete refurb. So even though it's our entry-level price point, it's brand new. I mean, every single piece of furniture and the tent and the rugs is all brand new this season. They just came in, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful for exclusive use. It's wonderful for a lot of guides like to white label it, and it just makes you feel like you've got that little bit of privacy and a little bit of exclusivity when you're at camp. Now, normally, if you had a guest who booked that because that's all they can afford, and there was availability, we would upgrade them to main Naibor. But a lot of people just want to stay. They like the peace and quiet there. So this is just the mess tent of Naibor Wilderness. As you can see, we've got a dining table. What we have done is, because we do sometimes have couples that aren't traveling together or people not traveling together, we have made separate dining areas sort of all along outside by the river. So you wouldn't be dining together communally if you're not one big group in Naibor Wilderness. This is just one of the tents, again, very, very similar to our main, but it's a little bit more rustic with the wrought iron beds, but everything else is pretty much almost exactly the same as I don't think that's just a video of the wilderness tent as the main areas. It's got its own little bar, and you get your own, sort of manager of the camp that looks after all your needs when you're there. That's our little wilderness camp. So activities, we have all the traditional activities that you would have on safari. We love doing our, game drives obviously are the most important part of a game drive. There's no set schedule when you're on safari. We tailor it to your needs. If you've got children, if you're older, what you choose. But traditionally, you would go out on a morning game drive, early morning, have breakfast out on a picnic breakfast, and then come back to camp. You could also alternatively come back for a hot cooked breakfast if you didn't want to have a picnic breakfast in the camp. It's completely up to you. And then lunch in camp, lazy afternoon, maybe massage, maybe go for a walk, or go to the gym, and then an evening game drive. Now, all of our game drive vehicles have refrigerator in them. They've got additional water. They've got power points to charge your phone, your laptop, anything while you're out in the bush. Will never be without power. And we have special arms for photographers that can be added onto the bars in the car to support your heavy lens with bean bags, which can be added onto any of the cars on request. We've got exceptional game viewing. I mean, we just had guests right now in February, which I have to say, February is turning out to be it's an amazing, amazing time to come on safari because it's low season, and they saw everything, even rhinos, in the reserve without any other cars. It's actually a really, really wonderful time to come out. Just now we're in March, and it's still the same in March. But February and March are actually a secret, really great time if you're not concerned about the migration to come to the reserve because it's low season for the park fees. It's a low season for our rates, and it's quiet, so it's a wonderful time to come out. But the game viewing is exceptional year round in the reserve. Some views. As I said, we love doing bush picnics. I've just elevated the whole entire bush picnic experience. Everything. I've just got all new bags for coffees we do coffees and bush picnics, and full camp meals. We've just elevated the experience with all brand new equipment and the guides of having training. We actually have a trainer coming out next week. I'm going out to be with her to just give the guides a refresher course on the setups and how to the best way to really make the experience wonderful for the guests. But we have done that, but we keep up the training and sort of every 6 months, just having a trainer come out and just remind them of how the setup should be, but they're pretty spectacular. Sundowners, obviously, on safari are always an amazing thing. This picture was actually taken in April. The rains bring amazing, amazing sunsets, but sundowners are really what we specialize in. We love doing huge full camp sundowners, and the managers are really, really good at reading the room and the group and deciding if they should do a full camp sundowner and if the whole group's gelling or if they should just do and keep it up with the normal individual ones, in your car. The guides always have with them the equipment to set up the most beautiful sundowner, even if it's just one person. They always have tablecloths and tables and chairs and all the beautiful things that you would expect to have a beautiful sundowner. But a lot of people just say they just want to have a tusker on the back of the vehicle without making all the fuss. So it's up to you. You can choose whatever you want. And our guides are really good at understanding and getting to know the clients to know what they would choose to do. So we are in the reserve, and in the reserve, we can't do a proper bushwalk. But we can do a nature walk within our sort of 25 hectare property. So Joel is amazing. He loves taking, especially children, but anybody, people who are really into birding, they love going in our property, and they can do a 2-hour. You can make it a 2-hour long walk within our property. However, if your guests or your clients were really interested in a proper bush walk, we have an agreement with a neighboring conservancy which is a small additional fee, where we can get an armed ranger, and Joel will then go with you with the armed ranger and another conservancy if you want to go farther afield than just a nature walk within the camp. But the nature walks are wonderful. The children love them, and like I said, adults love them as well. Learning about the different footprints and animal stool and the different leaves and the flora and fauna and the birds. Children on safari, it's the most amazing experience. I love watching it through their eyes. There's just so much for them to see without really doing much. And they just kind of put down their phones because unless they're sort of in the mess area, they won't have Wi-Fi. And it's just a great family experience. This is some photos on safari. Cultural visits are always really popular. So we have a local village that we go to and visit, and a lot of guests love to go and visit the local village. And that's always a wonderful experience. But other activities we have for children at camp are, making fire, making bows and arrows. We bring in the high season, we bring in beaters that can sit there, and children can sit there and learn Maasai beating, which is really fun. So there's never a time when children are sitting around saying we're bored, because we also have lots of board games. And just the Ascaris and the Masai are wonderful with children. They love taking them and teaching them things, and the children love learning about the different bones or things. That's all available. Okay. It's the Great Migration. That's just showing you our location. So I think that's about it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to talk to you about. Just one thing I will say is we've got a new website coming soon. It should be in the next few weeks. I'm working really hard on it. So please, at the moment, if you want to go and find out some more about Naibor, go to the Africa Hub. Don't go to our website because it's completely being revamped in the next few weeks. But I'm excited about that, and I'll send out communication when the new website is available. So let me know if you've got any questions.
Thank you, Lisa. That was great. We, I think, have a couple of questions. Melanie has asked, what is the minimum age at camp?
We don't have a minimum age. What I say to agents is just tell your family, tell your clients that they need to know their children. So we don't have a minimum age, but children can make or break a safari. So for instance, my children from the age of 2 were amazing on safari because they grew up here. Where my niece and nephew, I would have never taken them on safari until they were older. So it's just up to you knowing your children and if it's going to be enjoyable for you. But we don't have a minimum age.
Amazing. Caroline has asked, how far are you from crossing points?
We are 10 minutes from one of the nearest crossing points. So the major one, the Mara River, is maybe about 15 minutes. But there's lots of crossing points. There's not just one. There's many. But we're very close to all of them. So what I love to say about our location is that it's kind of like Disneyland. So all the camps that are outside the reserve, they can't even come in till 6, and some of them are at 2. One in the conservancies are an hour or 2 drive away. So by the time they get to the gate, get in the park, get there, we've already been there, seen the crossing, and we're going off to have a lovely coffee. So when I say Disneyland, it's because and when you stay in a hotel inside the park, you have an extra hour in the morning, an hour in the evening to enjoy all the rides. It's kind of like us. We are there. We are there when there's no cars there. So we're very close. So it makes it wonderful during migration time.
Amazing. Bronwyn has asked, can you do game drives in the triangle?
Yes, you can. Yeah. It's all one park fee.
Yeah. Okay,
and
cool.
what I want to highlight is I know a lot of people I was speaking to someone else the other day, another agent in the UK, about the increase in the park fees and that so what we've tried, and we recognize that, and it does make a difference, and it means the numbers are less. Having said that, what we've tried to do, if you look at our rates, which we'll make sure we send you, our low season is the high season, is the shortest in the industry. Our high season is July 15th until September 15th. So that's 2 months, and then 3 weeks over Christmas and New Year. So there's no green season, shoulder season. It's that. So what we've tried to do is really make our high season short to take away the sting of the increase in the park fee. So our low season rates are for most of the year, as well as we do a 4 for 3 special that we do year round. I also tried to make the camp more family friendly because I have children as well. And I just made children under 18 are 50% off. There's no sort of staggered rate or, counting a 13-year-old as an adult. I just said that's crazy. So all children are 50% off. So we really tried to make it really good with the rates and to take away the sting of the park fee.
Amazing. Thank you. And then Natalie has asked, talking about children, is there a minimum age for game drives, and is there babysitting?
We do babysitting, absolutely. And there's no minimum age for game drives. We've had newborns on game drives, toddlers. They usually just fall asleep. As I said, it's just you need to know your clients to know that the child's not going to be screaming and making a noise, because that would, if we come to a sighting, that's not really great. But we don't have a minimum age. No.
Amazing. It looks like we may have answered all the questions now. I'll just double check. Oh, sorry, Natalie has just asked, do they need a private vehicle?
We don't encourage that, but usually I'm saying if you had a young child, you'd probably 4 people or 3 people, and you'd probably get your own anyway. We would do everything in our power unless there was some sort of tragedy that I can't imagine. We wouldn't put you in your own vehicle if that was the case. But we try and push families to Little Naibor where you get an exclusive use vehicle anyway. But if not in Little Naibor, we would really try our best to make sure you weren't with anybody else, because that would be awful for them if they didn't have children.
Amazing, thank you. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lisa. And thank you everyone for joining us.